Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Wrapped Up in Christmas. Yeah, it's one of those movies, one of those Christmas movies that come out at this time of year. Hallmark is well known for them, but Lifetime, of course, which I believe this is a Lifetime film. Much like Once Upon a Main Street and everything else, it's that same sort of formula remixed in barely perceptible different ways. This one is a little bit different, though. This is from 2017, and it's an hour and 28 minutes long, and it is kind of a throwback, at least actor-wise, to the 90s. There's a lot of comedic black actresses in this, 80s and 90s, by the way. We got Tatiana Lee, who was in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think she was little sister. And I think every teenage boy back then had a crush on her, even though she might have been a little snooty at times. We go all the way back to the 80s with Kim Fields playing her sister. She was Tootie on Facts of Life. We have Jasmine Guy, and now I'm completely blanking on what show she was on. But yeah, Jasmine Guy plays their mother. I don't know how that works, but seriously, it's just a stack of talented women. And then, of course, there's Jack A. Harry, who plays Tatiana Lee's hard-nosed boss. Tatiana plays Heather Nash. She is our main character. Again, the audience for this is 99%, for the most part, women. It's going to be women. It's just the way it is normally. Yeah, maybe there's some different people that are not women watching this, but for the most part, you're going to have the main protagonist be a female that the viewer can identify with, and that's okay. That's the way it works. That's how these things are so popular. As much as I would like to say, oh, these are all horrible, there's obviously an audience for it, and even if you call it pablum, it's still the idea that, you know what, if it works and it gets viewers and it sells advertising space on a whatever network, whether it's Freeform or Lifetime or Hallmark or whatever. Hallmark's putting out 41 new movies this year. 41. And they're not the only ones who are dumping new Christmas movies out with pretty much the same formula. Hey, if it works, it works. It doesn't mean that everybody has to like them or has to watch them. Nobody's forcing anybody to watch these movies. I've only forced myself to watch these movies. In fact, normally I would randomly watch them, but because it's the season, and sometimes these only exist on Disney Plus at the time of that season, well, guess what? I have picked these things, and these are some of the last few Christmas things that I haven't yet to watch on Disney Plus. And so I had not watched until now Wrapped Up in Christmas, because again, I would not have chosen to do so otherwise. So this is brand new to me, of course. So there's, again, it's a meet cute kind of story. Young, beautiful people falling in love with each other despite themselves, with a Christmas backdrop, Christmas theme. And in this case, look at, hold on a second. This title, this description says, Christmas is Heather's least favorite time of year. That means whoever wrote that copy didn't watch this movie. They took a guess, because guess what? That could be the description to 90% of all the other Christmas movies that are in this formula. It's just the way it is. But in this story, Heather loves Christmas. Not like a psychopath. Not like most of the other ones. She's not trying to build a Christmas story year round, or like date Santa, or I don't know, just eat cookies forever, that chase like the gingerbread cookies forever. Like she's a girl who enjoys Christmas, and she happens to be a mall manager. It's hey, Christmas is all about commerce, right? So why not set it at a mall where you can have a cast of characters with B and C stories that really go nowhere but are sweet, I guess? I don't know. But of course, you get Heather, and in a situation where she literally bumps into a hunky boy named Ryan, played by Brendan Fair. Now, if you don't, you'll recognize his face more than likely if you've been alive long enough, especially in the 90s. He was one of the characters on a show called Roswell. And yeah, I was like, where do I know this guy from? And I checked his IMDb. Yeah, Roswell. So I think he was one of the aliens. Yes, he was one of the 3 aliens that showed up in Roswell, but looked human. Had special powers. Not the newer version of that story, which I don't know if they were connected, but it had Shiri Appleby in it. She was super cute. So anyway, but Brendan Fair was one of those characters in that, and he is the hunky man that Heather is destined to fall in love with, per usual, with a heavy Christmas theme. So, I'm not going to ruin the entire story for you at all, but again, if you've seen one, you've seen nearly all of them, and nothing will surprise you. The structure of these is meant to be as stress-free as possible beyond the inevitable conflict where either one or both of them feel betrayed by the other, and then in the end come together. So I'm going to set it up. I'm going to give you a setup here. She's a mall manager. He's helping his aunt out at the toy store, the independently owned toy store in the mall. And Jack A., who's the boss, like the overall boss of the mall corporation in that area, decides that some of these stores aren't pulling their weight. They're not making enough money. You know what, lady? You shouldn't. I don't know if that's the way it works. If they're paying their rent for the space they own, maybe they're not pulling in foot traffic as much as you'd like, but if they're still paying their rent, they've got a contract, and you can't necessarily kick them out of it, right? Right? That's the way these days, in any mall, I realize this is 2017, but any mall would be happy to have a legitimate store and not just some sort of weird VR laser tag thing. Have a legitimate store selling products, taking up some space. This is just the way it is. And it wouldn't be kicking them out as long as they're paying their rent. You know. So Patty's Toys is a little toy shop, and Patty hurt her wrist, so her nephew Ryan comes in to help her out. It's not his story. He's not also in love with Christmas, but he's there just to help out, and and he seems to know everybody. Everybody knows Heather, because Heather's the manager of the mall, overseeing everything. They're always giving her free cookies at the cookie shop. Mindy Sterling and what's his name, Dan Lauria, are the older couple who run the cookie shop, and they're just charming, and they're the elders, that sort of the wise elders in the mall who help things along here and there, encourage young love, let's just say. Then there's a precocious niece, Molly, who is played by a princess. Her name is Princess, I believe. Princess K. Mapp. Her name is Molly in the show. She's 8, and of course, she's the one who asks too many blunt questions and tries to get her aunt a boyfriend. Even goes so far as to ask Santa Claus for a boyfriend. And little does she know that Santa Claus, at some point, for some reason, without any background check or anything else, he stands in for his buddy, who is Andy, who is the Santa. Ryan plays Santa Claus for the highly appropriate minute in which Molly asks Santa for a boyfriend for her aunt. So, yeah. And she offers up a bunch of information that Ryan could find useful. And he makes use of it. Because, he finds her hot. She's pretty, and she's, interesting. So he's got the hots for her. And, of course, after they bump into each other and spill hot coffee all over each other, or cocoa or whatever, yeah, there's all sorts of other meet. They have various meet cutes before he eventually does ask her out, but that's inevitable. I'm not spoiling anything there. Anyway, to make this all more confusing, Jack A, the big boss, tells little Heather, she's not little, Tatiana, Heather, that she's going to be VP, but first she has to make sure that all those people who weren't pulling their weight get kicked out of the mall because the competing mall down the road is just kicking their butts, and we got to get more hot traffic in there in literally the last 3 weeks before Christmas, 2 weeks before Christmas. And never mind that any effort anyone makes, whether they were pulling their weight or not, the numbers are going to drop off in January. It's just going to be the way it is. So, if suddenly the toy store gets a lot of business, oh my gosh, people are just pouring through the doors and whatever, effort they need to do to save the business. Again, another trope in this whole thing. Guess what? They've proven themselves. But in January, it's going to be like a ghost town in there. There's nobody going to be around. Or if Scroogey Jack A, decides to back off. It's still, even if she changes her model when it comes to who gets to stay and who gets to leave, it's still going to not look great in January. Their numbers are not going to work. So that's business. So it's Heather, though, who has to drop the axe. So she sends a letter to Aunt Patty, who owns a toy store. Little does Ryan know, and that Heather is his Heather that he has a crush on. And Heather obviously likes Ryan, but she doesn't realize that he's trying to do all this stuff because he learned this information from her niece. All of it is like secret betrayal or unintentional betrayal that one or both of them, in most any story, will feel angry about. And then they have to reconcile, realize their intentions are true and good and kind and loving. And of course they fall in love, and that's over. Yeah. I know I told you the end, but you knew the end. There was no surprise in that. I just told you the conflict. And you probably could have told that. You could have figured out that conflict in the first 5 minutes of the movie, period. The moment you found out that she was managing a mall, you knew that at some point she had to kick somebody out of a store, and somehow that guy that she's in love with would be involved in that. And the moment he dressed up as Santa Claus, being that there was a child in the room, he was going to use his Santa powers, there's no magic in this one, but he's going to use his Santa status to get information on the girl. Even if he didn't ask for it, he's going to get it, and he's going to use it in order to woo her. That's the way it works. Yeah. So, yeah. Like I said, all these kind of movies, super predictable, and it's just good fun. And oh my God, my brain, I just forgot what tomorrow's is. I have it up on my screen. I'll be right back. Take a look at these pretty people real quick. Aren't they pretty? Okay, yeah, it's Mickey's Christmas Carol. That's what we're going to watch next. Believe it or not, I haven't watched that yet on Disney+. Of all the years that we've been doing this Christmas thing, it hasn't come up. Or it got squeezed out. Or maybe it just was recently added for some dumb reason. But Mickey's Christmas Carol, unless I find out in the last few minutes, I double, triple, quadruple check this. But if I look again and I find out that we've already watched it, I'll pick something else. But as far as I know, Mickey's Christmas Carol is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.